Hello, in this presentation, we're going to go over the FBAR and Form 8938. So, FinCEN was established in 1990, and the mission is to safeguard the financial system from illicit use and combat money laundering and promote national security through the collection, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence and strategic use of financial authorities. So we're going to cover Form 114 and 8938 and what the requirements are. So who must file? A U.S. person, including a citizen, resident, corporation, partnership, limited liability company, trust and state who have foreign assets, bank accounts, or are earning foreign income may have filing requirements for different forms in the U.S. federal tax return. And when it says resident, it's talking about present test, so anybody who's required to file a tax return. Even though a U.S. person may be living abroad, have dual citizenship, or hold foreign bank accounts or foreign assets, they may need to report this information and income on their U.S. tax return. There is a variety of foreign reporting filing that may need to be filed. Today, we are going to talk about reporting for foreign accounts held by a taxpayer or accounts to which they may have signatory authority over. Moreover, U.S. citizens may also have a separate filing requirement with the FinCEN Department of the U.S. Treasury. Foreign bank activity report have a legal obligation to report these foreign accounts to the Financial Crime Enforcement Network, FinCEN. Taxpayer must report any bank account that have an aggregate value of $10,000 or more anytime during the year. That's very key. 10,000 or more at any time during the year. It can be your own bank account, or if you have a signatory authority, can potentially be a business account that you sign for or have an ownership interest in that account that might not be under your name. And this is a good chart that you can have in your pocket in case you are questioning. So is a filer a U.S. person, citizen, resident, or U.S. entity? Pretty much are you required to file a tax return? If yes, does the filer have financial interest, security account, and other financial accounts located in a foreign country? If not, then does the filer have a signatory authority over the financial account? If you don't, then you're not required to file it. But if you do, is the aggregate value of all accounts greater than 10,000 at any time during the year? So that's what we're looking for. $10,000 at any time during the year. So if you have 3 accounts for $3,000 each, that equals 9,000. You don't have a filing requirement. But if, let's say, you have 3 accounts for 4,000 each, then as you go over the 10,000, so 12,000, you do have a filing requirement for FinCEN or the FBAR. Okay. So the due date is the due date of the return, April 15th, most of the year, most years, unless there is emancipation year. And then you also have an automatic extension that you don't have to file Form 4868, but we do file it with all our clients. So just keep in mind that it's an automatic extension either way. Foreign accounts that do not need to be reported. We have correspondent or nostrils accounts. Correspondent is banking refers to the provision of banking services by one bank to another bank, and nostrils account means account held by a bank in a foreign currency at another bank. Any owned by government entities are not required to file. Owned by international financial institutions, maintained on a U.S. military bank facility, held in an individual retirement account, IRA, held in a retirement plan which you are participant or beneficiary of, foreign accounts held in a trust that you are a beneficiary of, and the trustee of the trust or agent of the trust files the FBAR reporting for this account. Exceptions for filing the FBAR: all your foreign financial accounts are reported on a consolidated FBAR. These are mostly for entities, partnerships. You don't need to file an FBAR for the calendar year if the consolidated report allows a U.S. entity who owns directly or indirectly more than 50% of an entity that must file an FBAR to file one consolidated report on behalf of the other entity. So this exemption does not apply to individuals. All foreign account, if you're also are filing jointly or separate, which doesn't matter, and your spouse signs authorizing you to file on their behalf, then yeah, you are able to file on their behalf as a jointly owned account. Also, keep in mind that there's some heavy penalties for not being in good standing or not filing the FBARs. So it's penalties are $10,000 per account, and they can have a maximum value or maximum penalty of 16,117 for year 2024, and this is based on it's a percentage of each of their accounts. So depending if it's non-willful, willful violation or transaction, or if it or if it's just negligence. Also, just keep in mind that the streamlined filing procedures can help you make up to 6 years of FBARs reporting, and you must be in good faith, but we don't want to get there. So just want to make sure we're in compliance. Okay, now we're going on to the requirements for Form 8938, Statement of Specified Foreign Financial Assets. And this is like the FBAR, but the thresholds are higher. So certain taxpayers holding a specified foreign financial assets with an aggregate value exceeding 50,000 a year end. So it's aggregated accounts, and it can be one or multiple accounts. If a year end they reach $50,000 or it has a account value of $50,000, and you're required to file it, or 75,000 any time during the year. And keep in mind that these values or these thresholds increase per filing status. So married filing jointly is double, and if they're living abroad, it's higher thresholds, 200,000 and 300,000, I believe. So, and then the 75,000 for singles in this case is at any time during the year. So if any time during the year the aggregate accounts reach 75,000, they have defined requirements, and what you actually report is the maximum value of the aggregate accounts. Okay. And also has the types of specified foreign financial assets, has some examples here. So this is pretty broad, and it covers more than just the FBAR. So the thing to keep in mind here is that they do have foreign assets. You do want to just ask the client to provide all the account values during the whole year to make sure if we have that, if they reach that threshold, and also at year end. Over here we're comparing the two. So who needs to file So pretty much whoever has tax filing requirements is worldwide income. So anyone who's filing a tax return. So does it include U.S. territories? Form 8938 does not. And the FBAR FinCEN does require U.S. territories like Puerto Rico and such. And then the reporting threshold is the differences between the two. The FBAR is $10,000 at any point during the year, and Form 8938 is $50,000 at year end and 75 at any point during the year or any time. Why do we have an interest in an asset or account that requires reporting? For 8938, if any income gains, losses, deductions, credit, gross proceeds, or distributions from the holding or disposing the asset will be relevant to your income tax return, you have interest in that requires reporting. And for FinCEN Form 114, if you are the owner of the asset, the holder of illegal title, or the owner of record is your agent, you have financial interest in the asset. If you have control of the disposition of assets through your communication with the financial institution holding the account, you have signatory authority over the assets. Both interests need to be reported. So when you have when you have signatory authority over the assets, pretty much means if you can dispose the money in the account. This happens for high-level executive of entities that have foreign bank accounts or foreign security accounts, and the executives have signatory authority over the account. So a lot of times, some of our advisors have signatory authority over the client's foreign financial assets if they can dispose of those assets themselves. So one needs to be reported, and then what we need to report is the maximum value of the aggregate accounts for both. How do you determine the maximum value of the accounts and assets for reporting? And then it's the aggregate value. So like I mentioned earlier, they can have multiple accounts of 3,000 each. If they exceed the 10,000, then they have filing requirements. In that case, it was for the FBAR. When is a form due? They're both due with the tax return. In the filing instructions for Form 8938, it does say that you do need to extend. So that one doesn't have an automatic extension. Where do you need to file the form? Form 8938 is filed with the IRS in the tax return. And for the FBAR Form 114, some of our clients can also file it online. Or we also can file it with the tax return, though this is not reported with the IRS. It's reported with the FinCEN, but our CCH system files it with them. And then the penalties, they're a little higher or much higher for 8938. They can be up to a maximum penalty of $60,000. Okay. And then going over the penalties again is something that we want to be in compliance, so we avoid our clients from having the headache of deal with penalties, trying to avoid them or exempt them. And any questions?
Hi, Jose. I have one question. Since there are different filing requirements for the FBAR and 8938, What is the best practice for filing the foreign bank account balances?
So what we recommend to our advisors is to ask the question to the client, make sure if they know that the client has foreign assets, to make sure to ask statements so we can come up with the aggregate value throughout the year. So you want to ask to all this foreign statements so we can see what the account balances are to see if they reached that threshold. Because there's one at year end. If the aggregate value reaches 50,000, and then there's some that is throughout the whole year. So anytime during the year, if the threshold reaches the 10,000 for FBAR or the 75 for the 8938. So you just want to ask uh, the client to provide all those statements so we can come up with the aggregate account values to determine if they have filing requirements. And then if you have signatory authority as an advisor, then you also might be required to file some of these forms. So just keep that in mind. That signatory authority is the key word right there to know if you have if you are required to file it.